And once again, that's from the World Service, the British Broadcasting Company, World Service. I spent some time in London when I was able to study and work with the BBC. And, of course, I remembered that today as I was very familiar with the city of London. And even one time, actually, I didn't see the Queen, but I saw her mother and her sister at a play one time. My wife and I went to a play on the London West Side and came out, and there was the Queen Mother and Princess Anne, the mother and the sister of the Queen. And so we were always, at least my wife was always fascinated by royalty. And so we're seeing pictures of places that we've been to and admired and loved a great deal. And this program is for leaders. If you're not a leader, you can't listen. Or maybe if you want to be a leader, that might be okay. But we'll just mention a little bit about Queen Elizabeth because we want to be timely. But we, again, don't want to overdo it because everybody else is. But then I want to talk to you about time and what time might really mean. So write down just the big words, time, T-I-M-E, because I want to share with you as a leader something you need to know when people say we don't have enough time. And I think this will be helpful to you. Again, we have hopefully some interesting ideas. My name is Stan Houston. I'm the leader of What It Takes Radio and the Jesus Entrepreneur Experience and a number of other things that hopefully we will be talking to you about. Next week, I'll be back in Arizona in Tucson, and we'll be broadcasting from the White Stallion Ranch in Tucson, Arizona, one of the historic classic places. I am so blessed by all the good things I get to do. And one of the most important is I get to talk to you. That's the program that starts right now. And thank you very much for your leadership. Yes, if you are a leader, I'm going to thank you because in today's world, to do it well, and if you're doing it well, first of all, I'm afraid you're rather rare because we are truly in most areas of our commonwealth. That's all of the people who live together to try and build up the wealth for the community, which is the marketplace. We don't have many really good leaders. I actually had to write to someone, and I showed my age. I said, where are all the courageous, bold, brave leaders? And then I paraphrased that old song from the 1960s, the Kingston Trio. Where have they all gone? They were talking about soldiers, but where have all the leaders gone? Unfortunately, gone to graveyards, everyone. Queen Elizabeth was one of the most effective leaders, and do you realize she had no power, no real political power? It was her persona that gave her power. It was her performance that gave her power, and she used it well. And remember, I've been talking about everybody should learn a trade. If I were running a college or a university, you would not get that degree until you had a trade certificate. And we now discover, and I knew this, I knew her story quite well, that during World War II, her parents put some of the children off to places where they wouldn't be bombed in London. But in many cases, there was the situation, and they stuck it out. Even though they could run away from danger, they stayed there. And that the Princess Elizabeth was actually in the armed forces. And guess what she was? She was a mechanic. She learned how to be a mechanic and fix the trucks and vehicles in the Royal Military. And they say even to this day, whenever something went wrong with a car, she was always curious to get out and see if she could know something about it. think of who she was and just make a list, and people are doing it all the time, of some of the things that showed how you can have power and influence without having power and influence. Well, think about that and see if we can learn some lessons from her life. I've oftentimes said that most lessons in leadership should be certainly done not in a textbook fashion, but in a storytelling fashion in which we listen to the stories of leaders and we read biographies, and then we, rather than taking the bullet points from some seminar, we ourselves have to discover for ourselves what are the qualities of leadership that will work for me in this situation. And one of the things you're going to have to learn to be a true leader is, as I often say, it all comes down to courage. It all comes down to courage. So just a few thoughts right there for today. One of my friends, when I challenged them on some of the things that we didn't get done, and I've been working very hard to help them, and of course, they gave me oh, Stan, I know, but I just don't have time. I just don't have time. Well, of course, the answer to that, if I wanted to be snotty, is how much more time do you need? But I didn't do that. But I simply asked them this question. Okay, take that word time. Now, we all have the same amount of time until we die. So we are living unlimited time. And as I pointed out to one of my colleagues in India just the other day, in terms of a project we have going there, I said, you know what? You're perhaps 30 years younger than me. I don't have 30 years. If we're going to get this project done, I'm working on limited time. So what are we now going to do? Since obviously I have limited time, and perhaps so do you. Now, here we go. When someone says time, do you mean talent? Is that we don't have enough talent? We aren't good enough, or we don't know people who are good enough to get it done? Is that the reason we need more time? We don't have the talent, who are good enough, fast enough, smart enough, knowledgeable enough to get it done. Is that what you really mean? Okay, now, to get it done, we're going to have to be able to persuade and influence others to help us do it. Do you lack influence? Do you have little ability to influence other people? I didn't say you had the power, but the ability to influence them. Okay. Now, let me ask you this question. All right. Money. And the other day, someone said, well, we are all unlimited funds, so let's try and figure out what we can do with the limited funds. And I said, okay, but first of all, let's try and figure out how we're going to get more money. If we need more money, or if we don't have enough money, one of the first things we ought to think about is, can we get some more? And then, is it because we lack excellence in execution? We don't know how to get it done. And I know one particular very, very sad leadership story where, in effect, the problem was they knew that they didn't have the ability to get it done. They were not good enough at executing it. And so they let it die rather than trying to find the people and the people who could help them be excellent in execution. So there's my little leadership lesson for this Friday. If you want to be a leader, please keep in mind it's always a tough job. You're always on call. You're always in a position of oftentimes being called in when the decisions and the choices are not very good. As someone pointed out, if you're a leader, you're always at sea. You're not safe in the harbor. You're always at sea because that's where you have to be. Because if you're in the harbor, you'll never get anywhere. So what you have to learn is that in choppy weather, in wild weather, how do I learn to deal with the deep? How do I learn to deal with the choppy weather? And as one of my sailor friends told me, he said, I can handle any wind that comes up. The problem is, if no wind is there, that's when I'm in trouble. When there's no wind there, that's when I'm in trouble. It's the ability to have the courage to be out in the choppy sea. And oftentimes in early legends, that was the mark of courage, because to go out to sea, to go beyond the horizon, was people would say, what's there? Maybe we'll fall off the flat of the earth. So there we go. Just 11 minutes, 11 minutes. There we go. Time. Do we lack the talent? Do we lack the influence? Money. How can we get more? Okay, but what do we do with what we have? Okay, excellence in execution. I hope that will be a little bit helpful for you in terms of leadership. And by the way, we're in the business of helping people who are quite ordinary do extraordinary, maybe sometimes even extraordinary things. And please keep in mind my story from Christy Nome, the rancher gal who is now the governor, the leader of the state of South Dakota. And that's a state that is growing and going because they have courageous leadership. They have a little cowboy spirit in them. She said, this is not my first rodeo. And her point was, she said, my parents asked us all of us children, we were asked to do hard things. That's what we had to do. And sometimes seemingly impossible things. I'm Stan Houston. These are interesting ideas for a Friday. We'll be right back. As I said, we are getting ready to celebrate the new year because this is the new year time. January 1st is simply a day on the calendar where they say, okay, and they give it another number, but this is the new year, this fall time. This is the new year. This is when we start. So think about that. How are you going to make this year a different year? What are you going to do that will express, first of all, some real courage in what is before you? So, where are you going to get the spirit force that will help you have more courage? Are you going to think new and different ways? If we can help you do that, and I believe we can, please reach out to me. We have a wonderful coaching experience. We'll not only teach you how to coach yourself, but then how to coach others. Because remember, the best always have great coaches. Always. That's what leaders do. Leaders have great coaches who's coaching, mentoring, and perhaps challenging you. Just thought I would ask. Please reach out to me at stanhouston@gmail.com. stanhouston@gmail.com. Best and blessings to you. Perhaps this weekend we might even have a little program about a very special man who had almost maybe a real miracle. My friend Wayne Peterson will be talking to me about what seemed to be an extraordinary, lethal cancer. And it looks like he's going to come out of it. We will see. And we'll be talking to him this weekend. Certainly some interesting ideas. Next week, we're in cowboy country, and obviously we'll have a little bit of cowboy flavor to the program as we do then. Best and blessings to you this weekend. Do something great. Yeah, do something great this weekend. Remember, great things are oftentimes small things. Remember that. Great things are oftentimes just small things. So do something great this weekend. Best and blessings as you do that. Bye for now.